to the show. Let's go. Line number 3. And say good morning to the independent member of the House of Assembly, Mount Pearl Southlands, Paul Lane. Good morning, Paul. You're on the air.
Good morning, Paddy. How are you this morning?
Not too bad, sir. How about you?
I'm doing best kind, sir, and happy St. Paddy's Day to Paddy.
Thank you very much, and same to you.
Yeah. Listen, Paddy, I wanted to call in about taking the money out of politics, because I heard you speak about it in your preamble, and it's actually something I've written the Premier about now and raised in the House of Assembly and through other forms of media. But before I do, I can't help but wade in on what Mr. Fleming was saying, because the citizens rep and the discussion on workers' comp, because that's something that I have been raising in the House of Assembly for the last number of years. I worked as a safety practitioner and managed workers' comp claims for a living prior to getting into politics. And, you know, when I hear Mr. Fleming say, and I understand, you know, he's talking about, well, what exactly was his mandate in this case, and I understand his perspective. But when he talks about the fact that, you know, before we can make any, I guess, recommendations or so on around workers' comp legislation, that it needs to involve all parties and so on, and he's absolutely right. But when he says that, you know, he doesn't know how that should be done or how it would be done, well, I would just want to say that there's already a mechanism in place to do just that. It's called the statutory review process. The statutory review process, it happens every 5 years by legislation. There's an independent committee that goes around the province. It does public consultations. It speaks with industry. It speaks with unions and labor, and with members of the general public. People can make presentations. The last one that was done a couple of years ago, there was a rep from was 3 people on the committee. Was Mr. Tucker, who was the I guess the chair or CEO or whatever the title was, with workers' comp. There was a rep from the Federation of Labor representing employees, and there was a rep from the Employers Council representing employers, because those are the main, you know, the stakeholders. They went around. They did consultations. They wrote a report. They made recommendations. And then, as in the statutory review that had happened 5 years previous to it, both of those reports are sitting on a shelf somewhere collecting dust. And so the point is, I guess I wanted to make, is that yes, there's a mechanism. Yes, we can make changes. But if we're only going to go around and play a smoke and mirrors game of doing consultations, writing reports, and then not acting on them, then they're not worth the paper they're written on.
Of course. And, you know, I always understand the concept of all stakeholders in a room to come up with a path forward. I hate to use those political catchphrases.
Yeah.
But there are so many different needs and lists of demands coming from all sides here. You really do need, like, I mean, I understand the statutory 5-year review, and yes, it becomes a paperweight. It's time now to not even wait for the next 5 years, because I think the last one was 2 years ago, right?
That's all it was.
Okay, so 2 years ago. I don't think we can wait 3 years. I don't think we need to wait. We can trigger that same independent body to give us an update as to exactly where we are now and put some recommendations forward with how to improve it for all. Premiums are too high for employers. It's not seeing the benefits go out the door for the injured worker. The timing stinks. The appeals process is flawed. Doctors don't like the paperwork. We have no medical experts reviewing physicians' reports. So, I mean, there's things that can be done, and it's not a rocket surgeon required. I think there's some pragmatic changes to be made right away.
Well, absolutely, I agree. And I guess the point I want to make is that we have 2 statutory reviews with recommendations in them. So, you know, I understand the need, you know, to constantly update and make change. But the fact of the matter is that we had consultations. We had reps from all 3 of the stakeholders, that being workers' comp, the employers, and the employee, because those are really the 3 stakeholders.
Sure.
And they collectively agreed, I guess, between the 3 of them, came to a consensus as to what the recommendations would be. They made recommendations, so let's get on with it.
Any idea how much money is in the bank at workers' comp?
I'm not sure what the money is in the injury fund. I know it's very healthy, because it was only, I think, a year ago or less where employers were actually given a discount in the rates based on the fact that the injury fund had been so healthy.
Last number I think I remember hearing is $75 million.
Yeah, that kind of rings a bell, Paddy.
Okay.
I'm not certain on the number, but I do know it was extremely healthy. Like I said, that they could, even to the point that they could start giving some discounts to employers on their rates. So, which is a good thing, and we have improved in terms of safety in the workplace and so on. And there's no doubt we've made strides there, but there's also no doubt that there's definitely issues and frustrations in the workers' comp system. And if we have mechanisms in place to find out what these issues are, to make recommendations, then, like I said, let's start acting on them instead of just putting it up on a shelf collecting dust. And that's really where the minister has to show leadership in terms of bringing forth legislation, and it's where workers' comp has to show leadership, because not everything in those recommendations require a change of legislation. It could be a change in policy or direction or training or whatever the case might be.
Is that Service NL?
That is Service NL. Okay. That would be Minister Trimper now.
Right. Before we run out of time here, you want to make a quick comment on the campaign donations? Yeah,
I do, Paddy. Again, that's something that I've written Premier Ball on. It's something that I've raised publicly now for a while. I mean, look, the bottom line is this. I really don't think that we need, there is a necessity to have all this money thrown around in terms of politics and political campaigns. Why do we need, for example, party leaders to be touring the province in a big old bus with their face on it? Why do we need all this advertising? I mean, people should be voting for the best person who's going to do the best job for them in their district. It shouldn't matter who has the most signs stuck up on the roadway obstructing traffic. It shouldn't matter who has the glossiest brochures or the most brochures. And so I think that we can definitely reduce the amount of money that's spent on campaigns. It should be slashed significantly. We should be also putting significant caps on the amount of money that can be given to either a party or to a candidate after the writ drop in an election, as well as throughout the intervening years. All that money that is raised, there should be caps on it. Let's take all the money out of politics. Let's make it about the issues and about the candidates and who's going to do the best work for the people, not who is able to influence the most people with all their fancy signs and brochures.
Yeah, it gets a bit tiring. I think you'll find a lot of agreement amongst the electorate on that front. Paul, appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you, Paddy. You have a great morning. Always great chatting with you, and be good tonight.
Fat chance.
I'm going to try to be.
I'm at the hockey game tonight. There's my opportunity to give the shout out. Game 6 of the Avalon East Senior Hockey League final down at the Jack Byrne tonight. Puck drop 8 o'clock. The Seabees and Torbay locking horns. It's been a fabulous series. So they'll be selling beer down there too, boy, if that's part of your requirements in St. Patrick's Day.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anyway, have a good one, Paddy. All the very best.
The same to you. Bye-bye.